Hi there, welcome back. Today, while we're sheltering in place, I figured I'd do a little repair work on this piston pump. These videos are brought to you in part by our Patreon contributors. Our top contributors are TrueAquaponics.com, GreenLifePlanet.net, GlassBottleOutlet.com, and GrowPockets.com. Thanks for your support. I've noticed a decreased amount of air pressure and flow from this. In fact, when it gets plugged in, I can hear a little bit of hiss from the inside of it. You may not be able to pick that up on the microphone, but it definitely does not have the pressure that it used to. So we're gonna pull it apart and fix it. I did order a piston replacement kit, and they aren't cheap. It was about $150 for that, but this pump is worth far more than that. I do like using these pumps mainly because they're so quiet. The blowers work very well. Much more air goes through them, but I just don't like having to listen to them whine all the time. So I usually go for these. They are expensive and don't produce quite as much air, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to take. It's not necessary to do it, but the kit does come with replacement filters, so we can pull this part of it out, check our filters, see if they're actually clean or not, and remove them. Not too bad, a little bit of dust in there, but they look nice and clean considering the outside of the case is fairly dirty. And we'll just remove all the screws from the cover. While I'm doing that, this is the model of the air pump Meadow LA120. I've had this for 7 years now maybe, so it is overdue for a repair. This one is a good brand name one, so long term I knew I'd be able to get replacement parts for it. There are some cheap knockoff ones that may or may not be able to take the spare parts. These pumps are also used in a lot of septic systems now to aerate the septic tanks. So they're becoming more and more popular, which is also helping to drive the cost of them down, but they're still fairly expensive. Taking a look at the inside of the cover, got a few little scorch marks, so either my system was under pressure or this thing just got too hot. The pump does have a thermal fuse in it here, or a circuit breaker, so if it does get too hot it would just shut off, so it would keep it from burning up. I've never actually noticed it shut off, so after all these years, a few hot spots, I'm not surprised about it. If we plug it in again, we should hear a little bit better, a little bit noisier without the cover on it. But when you plug it up, you can hear hissing. It sounds like it's coming out of this piston, so it's probably leaking out of there. Now we'll remove the head to expose the pistons. Manufacturer really puts these on tight, so it's good to use a socket wrench to get these started. Otherwise you're going to strip the Phillips head screw off of these. Just a quick look inside. Basically there's this piston that vibrates back and forth, and that pumps air down into this bottom chamber here, and that chamber then just has the outlet. So it's a very simple concept, just a piston moving back and forth. I could tell that this one is worn. It has a little bit of wobble inside of the cylinder there, whereas this center one is still fairly tight. The last one that's out of frame, you can't really see that, but that's just a hair loose, but it's definitely this one that's causing the problem. If we take a look inside, there's a coil that's essentially energizing at 60 hertz or 60 times a second. and that is becomes a magnet, and it pulls on this steel or iron part that's on the piston, and so basically it just makes this thing vibrate back and forth 60 times a second. It's very quick, and that's why when these things are running it just has that hum sound to it, because that's a hum of 60 hertz. The walls inside of this look good. There's a little bit of wear, and that's probably why the piston wore out. I can feel a little rough spot in here, so their machining wasn't 100% perfect. So we'll pull off this old seal that's on here. The kit comes with a new one. Drops in nicely, and we have a nice new piston. This kit does come with all three of them. Much tighter fit. And the head also has a seal in it that needs to get replaced. A little bit trickier to get out. Since we're going to throw this away, we're just going to grab it out with our pliers. Now we'll finish off the rest of this. Put it back on its little rubber stands here. This is actually very good for keeping the noise down. This whole thing just sort of floats in here. It's got rubber feet, it's got rubber stands. The air bladder underneath there is on some type of rubber thing, so it just vibrates in here and doesn't vibrate everything else. Make sure this gasket's still good. They don't give you a replacement one of these, so you don't want to go and ruin it. It's not super critical like some of the other ones, but you don't want to ruin it. All right, let's fire this up and see what it sounds like. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. A lot more air pressure on the backside here too. It will be nice to get the mineralization tank working again since the mosquitoes have started breeding in it. And this pump also provides some extra air for the fish too. That's much better. Before I was getting about 1.5 pounds of pressure. Now I'm at about 4 pounds, which is pretty good with this running. So that's about it for that pump repair. I also have this Danner pump that I'm using on the mineralization tank, and that's working well. A little bit smaller. And I haven't had to do any maintenance work on it yet, so we'll see how that goes in long term. Thanks for watching.